Mary, would you do roll call, please?
Vote.
Here.
Deers. Here. Lux. Here. Mattson.
Here.
Campbell.
Okay, if we would all stand for pledge of allegiance.
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yes. Something. Item 100A. Do the contract list. We're going to increase the wage for Dominic Williams from 1881 per hour to 1956. He passed his practice test. That will be effective on February 2nd.
Okay.
And then we're going to, under resignations and retirements, Lori Aberly, high school secretary, effective June 5th, 2026.
All right, thank you. Anything else? No? So we would need to have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes tonight.
Make the motion to approve the agenda as noted.
Second. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We have no waivers, correct? Okay. We would need to see a motion for the minutes from January 13th and January 14th. And those were both emailed out to you. If there was any corrections, I don't think there was, or if there's anything.
Motion to approve the minutes from January 13th and 14th.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Approved expenditures tonight, I would entertain a motion through A through C unless you want to pull anything out for discussion.
Motion to approve the expenditures A through C.
Second. So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item is financial statements. Again, we have A through K unless there is anything that the board members would like to pull out.
Make a motion to approve financial statements A through K.
Give a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. There. So we are to the items for patrons and others. We have some, I guess I don't want to do this one, but school board
Yeah.
recognition week, so.
School Board Recognition Week, so, yeah, and we're just clicking through this agenda, but I don't know that we're gonna keep this pace. It might slow down or change at some point, so, we have some certificates for the board members, but I guess before I hand these out, and they're beautiful, multicolored, very American looking. They're great, but these came from the Associated School Boards, but I guess I wanna say, and I'm glad I've got quite a bit of public here, to say this. I know I, for one, am very appreciative of our school board and the work that they do for our students. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand the role of school board members. I know sometimes people are quick to criticize, but, you know, they say it is kind of a thankless job, and that oftentimes is true because people just don't really know a lot of times what school boards do and all the work that they put in and the research they do in the governance of our school district and the oversight. And it's a big job. And these 5 people have been, well, these 4 plus Jody have been just very good to work with and very dedicated. So thank you. Got to show my appreciation for Mary here. She put these in order. That's clever. Thank you. This here from Julie. Yes, I think we do. We have student council from, should we start with the elementary?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm Shannon Molman, and we are the elementary student council advisors. And we have brought some of our student council members, and we will just have them introduce themselves, we'll start with Rafe over there.
I'm Ray Fletcher, student council vice president. I'm Colson, fourth grade student rep. I'm Peyton Lord, student council president. Beth Kinsmill, I'm the student council treasurer. I'm Olivia Quintel, and I'm a class rep. I'm Mason Gale, and I'm the fourth grade class rep. I'm Hector Ford, the student council secretary.
And on behalf of the student council, Peyton has something we would like to share.
To the members of the Board of Education, on behalf of the staff and the Lead-Deadwood Elementary Student Council, I would like to thank you all for your ongoing support and vision for our district. Your commitment to providing us with the resources and environment we need to succeed does not go unnoticed. Thank you for your selfless service to our district and community. Your vision and leadership create the foundation of our students' futures. We truly appreciate everything you do for the Lead-Deadwood School District. Sincerely, the Lead-Deadwood Elementary Student Council members.
And we have a small little gift for our school board members.
We can no longer say it's a thankless job.
You got it. Can we get a picture?
Yeah.
Want to go up and get a picture?
Get a picture. Yeah. Come on, Hector.
Go up there. Want us to stand or you want
If you
us
would,
to-
yeah, because then you kind of like.
Perfect.
I know we know.
There's good chance. Like the chin. Here we go. There we go. There, there's my jokes. I know. Awesome, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you to the elementary students. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Great. Yep.
Middle school student council, I believe, is here, correct?
I am the eighth grade representative.
I'm Kimberly, and I'm the president of student council. I'm Isadora, and I'm our sixth grade rep. Dear school board members, on behalf of the middle school student council, we'd like to take a moment to express our heartfelt appreciation for all the hard work, dedication, and commitment you have shown in making our school a wonderful place to learn. Every day we come to school and have the opportunity to learn, to thrive, and to achieve our greatest potential. The positive environment in which all students and staff are positioned is a direct result of your efforts. From providing the best resources to ensuring a safe and respectful atmosphere for everyone, you have demonstrated the importance of education and the value of creating a space where growth and learning are prioritized. For this, we thank you. We are grateful for the numerous hours and unwavering energy you invest in building an environment that supports students through character development and academic advancement. Your efforts do not go unnoticed, and it is clear that each of you, is deeply committed to improving the lives of our students and educators. Thank you again for all you do. Your hard work truly makes a difference, and we are fortunate to have such dedicated individuals overseeing the future of our school. With our deepest gratitude, Lead-Deadwood Middle School Student Council. You want to help pass out cards?
Still good. Sure.
Big charge.
They doing a picture.
Oh, yeah, they're.
Stand on the chair.
And the high school student council, I think, is represented here as well, right?
Oh, that me?
I don't know. Gary said he was gonna come. Doesn't look like he's here. I'm not really prepared for this. I'm the secretary of the class of 2027. So I've been in student council. I was in elementary school student council and middle school student council. And I'm also the South Dakota State representative on National Student Council. So definitely pretty involved there. Thank you for your support, school board. It's kind of all been said, and I didn't know I was gonna say anything. But I think that Gary has something for you guys.
You're supposed to come to.
Oh. Yep, you're not getting off like that.
This is why Shay's here. She gets thrown into stuff. I'm just being pulled in. Thank you. You're welcome. So it doesn't matter. We're good. Thank you. You're welcome.
Good job. Good job.
We always announce that the middle school and high school students, we'll say middle school and elementary students, if you don't want to hang out, it's okay. We'll let, you can take off. You don't have to hang out unless you really want to. We'll give you a couple minutes if you guys want to take off your shirt. Sorry. That's okay. Good enough. It's like, Mom, don't do it.
Have a good night.
You did a great job.
My speech.
Thanks, guys. And we'll give an opportunity, if anybody wants to move around, I know it's kind of tight with all this kids here, so if I want to, we'll give you an opportunity to kind of get more comfortable with where you're at, that's fine. Sure. But we like it when kids come visit us, because it doesn't happen very often. So, all right, so the next one is recognition for nurses.
So, you know, this is kind of the life of a counselor, you know, like, they're gonna have to speak for their own recognition. That's just that kind of is emblematic of the way school counselors are, and they're here to serve. And, we're all very grateful for all that they do. But in that spirit, we would like them to just, I guess, kind of talk to the crowd and, let some people know the kinds of things that you deal with every day, and, just some of the great work you do day to day, so.
Rhonda wants to go first.
Yes.
Who always has her list?
I got mine. Okay. I'm Rhonda Bryceman. I'm the high school counselor. And this has been, another busy year, and it's already February, which is kind of my body. This year. Mainly what we're doing now, working a lot on getting kids ready for next year. Much of the work of the high school counselor focuses on the future, on what you're gonna do next year, what are you gonna do 2 years from now, so forth. So trying to help the kids get to where they want to go. If they don't know, we can try to help them find their way. Couple things that I thought from last year to this year that I would highlight was last spring, we had about 24 students doing dual enrollment, and this spring we have 35. And our numbers are down overall in the high school. So between junior and seniors, we have about half the juniors are taking a dual credit through a college or tech school, and a number of the seniors. So the price had gone up from $150 to $235 this year per free credit class, but that's still way lower than it would be if you're in college. And Janelle has gave me permission to say her name. But she boasts the most dual credit courses in the senior class. She will have completed 11 courses by graduation. Some of them are 3 credits, some are 2, some are 1. So, but she's got the record on that. So that's pretty cool for her. I recently took 3 juniors to a conference in Washington, DC for CADCA, which is Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. And it was funded through the Lawrence County Coalition, as well as through local groups that assisted in the funding. The students, we could send 2, and we wanted to have 3, so the Shay like has a bunch of people on speed dial that she asks for money. And they all start coughing up money and we could have free go. And because it's kind of expensive. And so we went to Washington DC just last week. And there were lots of sessions for the students and for the youth leaders. And we did a lot of touring. And they got to see a lot of the museums and the sites of DC. And we got to meet with Dusty Johnson and Mike Brown's as part of Capitol Hill Day, where you try to talk to them about the needs of group. So it was trying to continue funding for prevention programs and treatment programs and so forth across the country, because they're trying to cut most of them, as you can imagine. So we're trying to promote keeping those things. But the district didn't pay for that at all. It was all funded through, like I said, the donations and the grant of the Lawrence County Coalition. And I would like to see if those students could possibly speak at a board meeting sometime too, and tell a little bit about that. And lastly, Educator Rising Group, we have 2 seniors this year graduating. We're going into the field of education, and we'll be attending a state conference later this month. And Leah Ryan is competing in a classroom lesson development and delivery at the state conference, which she competed last year as well. And if she advances, she would qualify for nationals, which would be held this summer in Portland, Oregon. So that's pretty cool if that happens. Have to go find some money for that. Whatever. And this group received the Walter Green grant to fund the activities and paper dues and things that the group does. And so I'd also like to see if someone from that group could speak to the board a little bit more about it. That's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you, Rhonda.
Who wants to go to Matthew's?
And we do have, perfect. So we printed out some information that, the DOE has put together on school counselors. The DOE has some really amazing resources, regarding school counselors' role. And so we just thought this was a kind of a nice one. It's got, appropriate and inappropriate roles for school counselors because like what someone mentioned, unless we're sharing what we're doing, it's really easy for people to not know what our role is. And so sometimes it's easy for school counselors to end up taking on duties that maybe are the most suited for their training. And so just thought we put that in your hands. And Yolanda and I just actually spent the day at a school counselor training, a best practices training, which was really great. And so we just got to spend a whole day with a bunch of like-minded people who loved being school counselors. So that was a really uplifting situation. And so some things that I do at the elementary level, and I guess maybe we should say I'm Amanda Bender. I'm the school counselor at the elementary school. If you're familiar with MTSS or multi-tier systems of support, school counselors should be spending a majority of their time supporting all students. So within like classroom lessons. And so far this school year, I have led 110 classroom lessons, K-5. I was able to get the school paid for me to get SCUDA, which is a platform that I can use to track my time usage and some other data. And so I was able to see that I've met with at least 61 different students. And so of course, some of those students have been more than once. And I will say I also am working really hard to put in everything I do, but it's also kind of everything. I also run check-in, check-out, which is a tier 2 intervention. And those 61 students would be like a tier 2 students that need a little additional support in whatever area it might be. I also am running a couple small groups and starting a few more this semester. With that SCUDA data, you'll see at the top of your papers that little percentage. And school counselors want to spend 80% of their time either directly working with students or indirectly, like collaborating with teachers and things on behalf of a student. And then 20% in those other duties such as planning and prep and things like that. And I'm like a little disappointed, to say that I'm at like a 50-50 split right now. So I wish that I was a little bit higher. However, looking at some of that, I do like 10% of that is actually fair share duties that I have. So, with that in consideration, I think I'm doing actually pretty well. So, that's just like a little bit. I mean, it's really impossible, I think, for most school counselors to say, like, to really give like a snapshot of what they do because it's so different day to day. I do want to say thank you to the school board, for being supportive in my role in the State School Counselors Association. I am currently the president and I get to support all school counselors throughout the state, which is really important to me. And I value getting to do those things and support across the state. So thank you.
I don't like people behind me, so I'm.
My name is Yolanda Price. I'm the middle school counselor. Tier 1 stuff looks a little bit different for me. I'm not in the classroom as much as Amanda, although I am welcome to that. If teachers are like, hey, I'm really having this problem in my classroom, please come in and do a lesson for me. But my tier 1 looks a lot more like school-wide stuff. So like Red Ribbon Week when I was here back in October and we talked about the competition we have. This week we're doing Kindness Week where we are having some dress up days and some competitions with that. And then like in April, we'll have a Hope Week that correlates with our Hope Squad and really getting like the preventative mental health or suicide prevention stuff out to people. Small groups, I haven't been able to do a lot because I don't have a space right now. For many of you know, the middle school's under construction and I lost my classroom. So I don't have a space to do small groups really because every other space in the building has been taken over for other things. So I do end up having kids in my class quite often, just kind of hanging out and chatting about life. And so those are kind of just like impromptu small groups. Some other things I'm working on the South Dakota Week of Work. I'm trying to get some panelists in based on their student needs or student interests and how they want to be when they grow up. Coordinate some new teammate matches. I have 13 matches at the middle school. So coordinating that's been a deal lately. We got some new matches and some stuff going on. And so to circle back a little bit to Hope Squad, I was able to keep my freshmen on board with talking to Mr. Embrock. And so I have 13 returning Hope Squad members, which is great. So they've continued the curriculum and I onboarded 5 new 6th graders this year. And so we meet at different times to go through some of those lessons. And like I said, just talks about prevention, warning signs for suicide, and then really trying to create like an environment or an atmosphere in your building that everybody feels welcome and supported. And so that's really, really passionate for me. So that's kind of where some of my focus goes. And I just think it's really important to meet students where they're at to get them where they want to be. Like last week, just a little tidbit of my day. I spent 40 minutes one morning helping a girl get eyeliner off of her face because she was so devastated that people were calling her names. She wore it one time. So propping her up, telling her that that's okay to be different, but yet trying to support her not wanting to wear it either. So like that was one day last week. So it's different. Every day is different. I love it. So thank you for your guys' support and everything that you guys do too. So thanks.
I want to say thank you just to all of you guys. You guys do amazing things and I see that all the time, every day. We know you're busy. We know you're constantly with kids and helping them through things and we very much appreciate it. So next up, we are under to new business. So we will start with contracts, resignations, and retirements. Go ahead, run as I come out. So we do this every meeting this time of year. It's pretty normal. We're getting ready. It's kind of scary, but sometimes we're dealing with next year's stuff. So that's where we're at. So we will go ahead and review those.
Okay, under classified substitutes, Ella Thompson, custodian, 1956 an hour. And then under resignations, retirements, well, do we want to approve that contract first? And then, oh yeah, and Don Williams.
Yeah, we had Don Williams, and then this is the other one.
Yeah.
We have the Don Williams change.
Oh, Don Williams.
Don,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Don Williams.
I'm thinking like Don Williams, the singer.
Don.
Also time. Yeah.
So we have that addition to.
Yep, Don Williams, moving to the, certified para rate of, 1956 an hour. So, do you want to do that motion first and then do the resignations in another?
We can do it
motion?
separate, yeah, so we're gonna do a motion to accept the classified substitute as well as the change for Dominic Williams. Is that what you want?
Yep.
Second. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, perfect. Now we're on to resignation and retirements.
A lot of retirements and, so I'll just kind of run through, regretfully, Jay Beagle, middle school principal sped director, will be greatly missed. Margie Rampaw. You sure? Margie is gonna be greatly missed and been here a very long time. Yep. Lori Aberly, second generation high school counselor, been here a very long time as well. And then, some teacher resignations. Kyle Sander, middle school, high school, CTE instructor, welding, metal fabrication. And then Brianne Cook, elementary teacher, just got married in the last year, and I think her husband, got a job out of state, and so she decided to go with him. Okay.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so why don't we go ahead and have a motion on accepting those, and then there's, quick comment I'll make about filling those, I guess before you make the motion. With the business manager, position, I've been communicating with the board, that's a very big deal. And so, we're gonna have a process laid out, prior to advertising that. We wanna post that position tomorrow, so I'll just kind of run through real quick. Basically what that's gonna entail. And so we're gonna have a committee that's gonna be doing the interviewing. February 11th, we're gonna do a statewide posting. March 6th will be the closing date. March 9th, confidential application packets will be distributed to the interview team for review. March 11th will be the interviews. And then offer a contract, based on the committee's recommendation. And then March 16th will be, if the board so chooses, contract approval at a special board. So that is how we'll go ahead and handle the business manager position, and that's gonna be a statewide search, advertised far and wide for that. And then on Mr. Beagle's position, I'll just quickly run down kind of what I recommend as the plan there. Right now, Mr. Beagle is half FTE, full-time equivalent, middle school principal, and half, special education services coordinator. And so just for a little frame of reference, the middle school principal position has been at that half FTE level, and sometimes it's been shared with the high school principal, sometimes it's been shared with the, special ed director, but since 2003-04, it's been that way. What I would propose we do is separate the special education services coordinator position from the middle school principal position. And then the special education services coordinator position will remain half FTE and will be addressed separately as, half FTE services coordinator, half FTE, a practitioner within the district with an adjusted caseload appropriately. So if it's like a special ed teacher, they would have an appropriate caseload for half-time, and then they'd be half-time sped director or sped coordinator. And then We would reduce the AD position from 0.85 that it is right now to a 0.5 FTE. And that's been paired with some other administrative positions in the past at Lead-Deadwood. I think just, since we had the ESSER money, that's when we got somebody that was, first time for a long time, I think, dedicated that much time to the AD position. With decline in enrollment and so forth, that's one that we're looking to make a cut in. So then we would pair the middle school principal and AD position for a 1 FTE. We'd reassign Zach Clement to that. And kind of an important piece to that, I think, is proximity or location. So Zach's office would be located in the middle school, not splitting between 2 offices, but full-time office over there in the middle school. And then we would eliminate the 0.15 assistant middle school, high school principal position. And, like Mike, for example, would track down his own tardies and that kind of thing. So, but then, those, like Mike and Jay already kind of work pretty well together. When one is gone, the other might fill in and kind of help out, or between Mike, Jay, Zach. So there would still be that kind of collaboration to help out here and there. So, that would, it's always kind of an estimate because the numbers get a little bit fluid, but we look at that as saving the district about $58,800, combining those positions. So, okay, I just wanted to be upfront with what that process would be before you, or as you approve the resignations and retirements.
So we would be, do you want the extra leave?
We can do that separately.
So we would be looking at acceptance of the resignations and retirements, for 2026.
I'll make a motion to accept with regret our resignations and retirements. Thank you guys both for all you guys do. You're gonna be very, very, very missed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then extra duty contract, we have, Dr. Doug Olson, for, musical director for $1,060.80. And, that's gonna be exciting. First time having a musical kind of back in production here for quite a while. So,
Okay, so we would need a motion to accept that extra duty contract as well. Can you make that motion? A second. And the motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so there's your contracts resignations. Margin, you guys will both be greatly missed. It'll be tough to hope we have to do something, so we appreciate it very much for all you guys have done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Enjoy your retirement.
Yes. So the next item is administrator contracts for the 26-27 school year. You guys do have a list in your packets here. You want me to go through them?
yeah, you can, or I can, and maybe you want to tell them why the name isn't on there.
So the administrative contracts offered would be to, make the motion would be to Mike Rock for the high school principal. It's a 197-day contract. Mr. Van Bibber, elementary school principal, 197-day contract. Zach Clement, which would be the 0.5 FTE for the middle school principal and 0.5 for the activities director at 197 days. Bill Snow, maintenance and transportation supervisor, he gets more days, 240 days.
He's a liar. He works way more.
Way more.
Yeah.
Sherry Rystrom, food service director at 195 days, and then Jamie Holland, network director at 205 days. So we would work with those ones for the contracts. And then I guess I'll kind of let you explain how we do yours separate.
Sure.
If you would. So that's what we would be looking at for contracts.
Make motion to approve the contract.
Second. We have a motion and a second for the contracts that I just read off. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So that's done. And then just for, anybody in the room, the superintendent contract is on a 2-year basis. And this year is not. the one up for it, he was already under a 2-year contract. So that's why it's not on there. It's because it is a 2-year contract. You want to add anything or is that good enough?
No, no,
All right.
that's
What it is. And so, the next item is the SECO change orders. Oh, the land development, I crossed it off. You want to kind of run through?
I can real quick and.
real quick?
No, it's the same that has been out there, and I apologize that it's not in the packet, but it's been published. I know the board members have it. I'll run through real quick. I know there are some people who probably want to speak on this issue, and we've had a number of public meetings on this specific issue, just to specifically address these things. And I'll just be pretty brief here. I'll read through what the phases are of this. This document's been out there quite a bit. And then I've got a brief recommendation for the board and then I turn it over to you. So, we are looking at kind of, and we've kind of said, like our last public meeting, that, it's time to make a decision on this, so people kind of know where it's at and we can move on. But, that phase 1 is kind of stuff that's already in process, and that includes doing the boundary plat. That's been submitted to the city, to planning and zoning, breaking up the big land into like 6 different tracts. And those will be the same tracts that have been shown at public meetings, preparing, covenants, to kind of direct, usage of the land if it's ever put up for sale at a future date. And then organizing public information meetings, those have already happened, December 10th, 2025, January 7th, and January 14th. And then phase 2, kind of, this is where we kind of get into the parts that are, drawing a lot more interest and a lot more, discussion. And I guess I would just say, I think we've had some really good dialogue and there, you know, I think that, you know, people showed up and made their opinions known. And there are probably some people out there, I know there are people out there with other opinions. And this is kind of how it works. If you don't show up and speak up, then you're kind of yielding. And so I think the board has had a lot to think about. And I think the board has done a really good job with engaging the public. That's just my opinion. But that phase 2 looks at, basically establishing part of that land to be set up for tiny homes, for staff housing in the future. And, one of the pieces in phase 2 would be adopting policies to govern the construction and the management of those staff houses. And then, actually engaging in developing of 3 to 5 tiny homes. And so that's kind of phase 2 in a nutshell. Phase 3 is projected to be school district would approve the building of a single family home at the rate of like 1 a year, 1 every other year, something like that, potentially happening as soon as summer of 2027. And then the other piece of it is taking a large tract of about 40 acres, and then platting that for sale to a developer, for the developer to come in and do a development and put in infrastructure and roads and streets and utilities and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we kind of talked about all the public input, and I think, you know, I know where the board is at, but I think you're about to take a vote on it. And I guess my recommendation is that phase 1 seems to be pretty palatable to a lot of people. And I know some people had differing opinions on that. But I think phase 1 is responsible business, dealing with that asset and kind of having it ready for future development. If the time is ever right, then it's kind of ready to go. Let's say you hit a hot market, and we all know how not fast school business moves. You know, you have meetings once a month, and it would really behoove the district to kind of have some things ready to go that in future years, if you ever want to sell off part of it. So that platting is kind of underway. We've been in communication about that. And then my recommendation would be to just, listen to the people that have spoken out and not proceed any further with phases 2 or 3. So that would just be, Greg, I'll look you right in the eye and tell you, as long as I'm here, I am not gonna bring up the idea of, I think we've looked at it. Is this something that would be beneficial for us? And there's a lot of, pros and cons, but, as long as I'm here, I'm not bringing it up again. And so I think that we've heard, kind of what the public wants, what the public expects. And so my recommendation to the board is to have a motion, to approve phase 1 and go no further on phases 2 and 3. Turn it over to you guys. Excuse me at that point.
I do have some signatures here of that, letter of public opinion that I'd like to hand over.
You can submit it as part of the record, that's fine.
Okay, good.
Yep. I think it's open for the board. Public forum is at the end of the meeting. We did already do a public meeting on this particular topic, so it's not open to the general public unless there's a specific question that, we had after the last time we got to hear pretty much everybody's, what they thought and where they were. So if you have a specific question for someone in the audience, you can sure ask it. But if not, I think it's at a point that just a decision needs to be made. We've spent a lot of time and effort on stuff, and if you want to go forward, we can, and if you don't, that's okay too. I think that's kind of where it's at right now, so unless, that's really my opinion, I think it's either we give Dr. Pearson the okay to move forward, or we say, no, we don't want to go forward anymore. The plat has been submitted to the city of Lead. I believe the intention was to have it on I think the planning commission is February 24th, and that was for the 6 tracks, so that it would be set up, if we ever wanted to do anything, it breaks it into more manageable parts. So that has been submitted, so that's that phase 1.
I think it's important to continue on and finish phase 1, get that line is right, we should went on to phase 2 and 3, probably not the right move to this point. But I think since we're already on track to divide that into tracks, I don't see any reason not to continue that process, you would say.
I'd agree. I think it's been made pretty clear how people feel about this particular situation. I think that we need to be cognizant of who we represent and what's best for our district. And right now, I think that we are probably better off sticking with phase 1 and not moving forward with phase 2.
I think that we need to do phase 1 and get the plating done and not build any houses, to the developer.
Make a motion to continue on with phase 1. Not to do anything more with phase 2.
You want those off of it? Or do you want those still?
No, I think they're still there, but don't think we can. Yeah, I guess the motion is to finish phase 1.
Have a motion. If we don't have a second, we would die for lack of a second. That was maybe a different motion. If it does, that's something to do.
Because I don't have further actions of phase 2 or 3.
Still in phase 1.
Yeah.
I think you could,
Maybe amend them.
We need to make, I don't know if we need a motion to exclude phase 2 and 3.
Maybe do that.
I think it might, I think if you did one motion to proceed with phase 1
And then
and cease activities on phase 2 and 3, I think that might put some people at ease, and it might make the board's intentions with.
we might second that then.
No.
So your motion
Finish
is
phase 1.
finish phase 1, cease doing anything with 2 or 3. Fair enough.
Okay, then I'll
Did you
second
get that,
that.
Mary?
Okay, then I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so with that, we will still have public forum at the end. If you guys want to say anything, that's fine. I know I did have a few things in here. The letters that you submitted will just go in the record. That's how it will work. So I think with that, we have a motion and a second on that. We will continue with phase one, which is platting the tract into 6 tracts. That will go forward. Like I said, it was submitted to the city. I think their intention was to put it on the February 24th. I think that's right. Planning Commission meeting is the 24th, I believe. So that's that. So that is all we have on that item. The next one would be the CECO change order.
Yes. Bill and I can kind of tag team on this.
I'll start.
You can start.
Okay, so that, this change order comes in 3 parts. The first part is that area across from the offices that they're doing down there. Those rooms that we really didn't touch much in. There's some vinyl base that's coming off the wall. We're gonna have them put vinyl base back on. And then in that office area, there was a discrepancy on ceiling height. So they added a bulkhead in so to make it cleaner as the ceiling's made up. And then the last part is the sidewalk going into that CTE area is an inch higher on the outside than it is on the inside. So they're gonna have to tear part of that sidewalk out and then put a trench drain in over to the storm drains, and that's where we're at.
And it was pretty productive. We had a little back and forth on that particular change order, and we kind of came to an agreement with CECO on that, and yeah, I feel like we got where we needed to be, so.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item is the Music Academy diploma.
Okay, and we've got Dr. Olson here to speak to this a little bit, and I guess before I turn it over to him, I'll give just a little bit of context here that Dr. Olson came to the administration with really a fabulous grand idea. And it's exciting for us because as administrators, because anytime you have a staff member wanting to not just kind of do the minimum or just make things average, but really have an idea to set our district apart, it's pretty exciting. And so we've had quite a bit of discussion about that, and I'll let Dr. Olson talk a little bit about it. And then we have, part of the discussion was we need to kind of lay the foundation. And there are certain things in this grand vision that we can do with existing resources and that we can kind of pave the way. And if that helps build our program up, then maybe we can take steps towards the grander vision. But anyway, so this Music Academy diploma is one of those initial steps. And with that, I guess I don't want to steal all your thunder. Go, Dr. Olson.
Thank you all for having me and inviting me. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be in Lead-Deadwood Public Schools. I got into public education after a long career in church music to work with young people who were like me when I grew up in Worcester, Montana. And I look back on the most formative parts of my life. It was Mr. Irons, it was Mr. Dietrich, it was Mr. Black, it was Mrs. Pennick in Lewistown, Montana, as my music teachers, giving me much more than music in my life. And I wanted to finish my career giving that back and honoring them. So when the opportunity became available here in Lead-Deadwood with the proximity to where my folks retired in Wall, I jumped all over it, and I've been thrilled to be here. The idea of a music academy is just simply a way to expand what we can offer as a music faculty, a music staff here. It doesn't add any faculty or staff. It works within the confines of our current schedule. It just gives us the ability to offer a bit more to all of the Lead-Deadwood School District students, from grade school all the way through high school. The capstone in the high school would be an achievement added to a diploma that would recognize a student who had spent a certain number of credits, and we have that kind of detailed in music. If they've spent a certain number of years in music, if they've gone to all-state choir, all-state band, if they've sung at district music festival and received certain awards for that, if they participated in a school musical. They could obtain a certification in music on top of their regular high school diploma. The other things that we would add to that would be music skills classes that our current staff would offer to better help our students be prepared. Eventually, there would be a credit class for music theory that the folks at Black Hills State are thrilled about and ready to jump on. We would be the only school in the state offering co-credit or dual credit for freshman music theory offered through them. We would teach it together. Their teachers are excited to come and work with our students. They're excited to have me come up and work with them. So the potential there for collaboration is huge. The other significant thing we would add would be private lessons in addition to what Ms. Rathert already offers with the band program. All of the students there get plugged into that. We would like to expand that to private voice and independent piano lessons. And in the beginning, it would be us doing it. Lexi and myself handling that in both areas. If we got to a point where we had so many students wanting piano lessons during the school week, we might have to look at bringing another independent teacher in and having them pick up some of that load. But in the beginning, in the confines of who we have, we can make that happen. And I threw this idea out at a group of young families in Rapid City, some personal friends and family. And one young mom who has 5 children looked at me and said, I'm going to have to figure out a way to move my family up closer to Lead-Deadwood. I want my kids in a school where they can get their piano lesson, their voice lesson during the school day, where they could go to a practice room in the school building and practice their piano and their voice and their band instrument during the school day. I think this would be a huge draw. We need innovative programming to draw people back in. And if that means some homeschool families only participate in that much of what we offer, hey, at least we've got them in the door for that much. And maybe they get to see that our math teachers and science teachers are good people too, right? And maybe want their kids to expand some of their work in public school that way. I think it's a way to reach out to the community and let them know we have something new and innovative and dynamic that a lot of families want and just simply can't afford. It isn't available to them up here. We don't have other private piano teachers or private voice teachers up here in the Lead-Deadwood area. You have to go to Rapid City or Sturgis or Spearfish for those things. So it would kind of put us in a whole different position in being able to offer those things. So I'm appreciative of Dr. Pearson's. When I threw that at him, I thought this will be a real good boat anchor soon, because I didn't think I'd heard him say, I need innovative ideas. We need innovative thoughts. And that's been my big one for a number of years, is how can we help school level musicians get better? But this doesn't happen at the expense of students that aren't in music. I think that's important to realize. We're not taking away anything from the students that wouldn't normally be involved in music. But man, if your family has students that want to be involved in music, what we would offer here would be a significant upgrade. Also, in visiting with some of my colleagues in Rapid City, they just looked at me and they said, well, we would never be able to do that. Just would never happen. Just said, it would be wonderful to see it happen. So I think it would make us not just another school district in the state, but in regards to music, we would be one of the leaders in the state. I appreciate your consideration of it, and I'm excited to do everything I can do in my power to make it go. And Door's always open, my email's always available. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and Doug kind of hit the nail on the head too, that, you know, that's one of the advantages of being a small school, is you can be a little bit nimble when it comes to innovation. You don't have as much red tape to go through to kind of launch an idea. So real quick, I'll run down the criteria that we've kind of talked about, so people can kind of hear what that is. And then I guess I would ask the board to approve this, and we could potentially have a handful of students qualify for this diploma graduating next year, graduating in 2027. So, okay, so here's to earn a Lead-Deadwood High School Music Academy diploma, a student must meet all regular requirements for high school graduation set forth by the State Department of Education, as well as those established by the Lead-Deadwood School District, plus the following Music Academy special requirements. Bullet number 1, 5 credits in fine arts, and bullet number 2, 4 years of band or choir, and third bullet, at least 2 of the following, and there's a long list here, but at least 2 of these: all-state chorus, all-state band, all-state show choir, all-state jazz band, all-state orchestra, academy-approved individual voice or instrumental lessons, performing role in the Lead-Deadwood High School musical production, successful completion with a grade of B or higher of Lead-Deadwood High School academy level course, something like the music theory course that Dr. Olson talked about, or successful completion of a capstone experience in music. And then for that, if students achieved all of those things, they would get recognition at class day and graduation. We would add a little extra performance at the graduation ceremony, where we would have Music Academy students performing a little bit there. They would get a special embossed sticker attached to the diploma, or a separate certificate commemorating the accomplishment, an honor cord or stole to wear at graduation, and designation on official transcript. So,
And I would add to that, I've spoken with administrators at Indiana University School of Music, Jacobs, my alma mater. Spoken with music faculty at Black Hills State, Alabama, the University of Alabama. The choir director was at our ACDA convention, and all of them said if we saw a high school student graduating with a good GPA and that added to their diploma, they would immediately receive strong scholarship recommendations from all those schools. So I believe we would have somebody come over from BHSU and the least offering our students scholarships for having that part of their education encompass music.
and one last thing I would add, this would not take away from, I guess, the casual music participants. I mean, there may be some kids that like, hey, I want to be in the band, but I'm not going for the Music Academy diploma. I just want to play the drums, you know. There's still room for that. In fact, you know, we need all of those kids. So there you go.
Dr. Olson, I've got to say, you sold me. So I'll make a motion to approve the Music Academy diploma.
A second.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
I think it sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it. Thank you. All right, next item is to look at the calendars. There's no action items tonight. This was better. We have our first reading of looking at the 26, 27, and your schedule this year. So we have 2 years in advance. We don't let it. So.
And the reason for looking at a 2-year calendar, it was really evident today. Amber Deers and I were at the Deadwood Chamber meeting, and it really, having that conversation really helped with planning with the Deadwood Chamber. And this calendar has been a lot of work. It's been tough. We've had a calendar committee, and in our process for staff seeking input on that, and even the community seeking input is, you know, first of all, we have a calendar committee, and the first draft that goes to that committee is probably not what's going to be brought to the board. It's the board's job to adopt a calendar for the upcoming year. But we have this calendar committee with representation from all three buildings, certified staff, classified staff, administration. And we talk about it and kind of a little bit of horse trading in the room there. And then it kind of goes out to the staff and then it just blows up and people just go crazy about it. But we do have a process for those people to share their input through the calendar committee, through their building level administration. And then we come back, do another draft. I think we've had, I know we've had at least two, but I think maybe had 3 calendar committee meetings. And I think what we've got now is a pretty darn good calendar. And it's actually very similar to, after all of that work, it's very similar to what we've had the last few years. One of the big changes, I guess, before I go into, because it's in the board packet, but I know not everybody has it right in front of them. So before I kind of go into the bullet points of what we landed on for the calendar, one change that came up, and I guess first I would hand this to the board members and the folks at this table, is looking at the August 2027 calendar, looking at the 27-28 calendar, so the second year that we're looking at. Pretty significant changes in August. And one of the big issues on this was that Sturgis moved the rally back. And then there was talk in Deadwood of moving then Cool Deadwood Nights back a week, so that they weren't back to back. Well, then that puts it right in amongst where we're starting school. And then, you know, one of our big things is the last few years, we've tried to get the semester wrapped up at Christmas time. And there's a big challenge trying to get parity between the 2 semesters and the number of days and all that. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this thing. But the big change that happened today at the Deadwood Chamber meeting was they set the dates for the 2027 Cool Deadwood Nights. And where they had been talking about starting Cool Deadwood Nights like the 23rd or 24th of August. Now those are going to be like the 17th through the 22nd. So kind of on that traditional date, the 3rd week of August, and it is going to be up against the Sturgis Rally, but you know what? That's not our decision. That's not our problem. That's the Deadwood Chamber made that decision. And I'll just say too, the chamber and the city have been very good about communicating with us. We've had several meetings, a lot of collaboration on how this is going to work. And so some of the things that were a little more, I would say, controversial with the staff were the ultimate overlap of Cool Deadwood Nights and the first week of school. Well, with what the chamber did today, that pretty much eliminated that conflict altogether. Now, you'll notice, for those of you who have that August of 2027, I'm kind of going backwards, talking about the second year first, but there is a day of in-service on the 16th, okay? That's very similar to what we did, I know what we did this year, and I think it worked pretty well. And, you know, when we get later in that week of Cool Deadwood Nights, having an in-service is problematic. It's probably doable if you can do it up here in Lead, not at the elementary school in Deadwood, but it's problematic. So doing that in-service on the 16th will work pretty well. So that was kind of a relief to see that conflict taken out of it. Now with that, I guess I'll speak a little bit to some of the things that we talked about. One thing was there's an opportunity in this upcoming school year, the 26-27 school year, that the traditional spring break dates are in March and Easter is going to be earlier. It's going to be in March. So there's an opportunity that instead of having like 4 4-day weeks in a row, what if we combined spring break and Easter, since they're that close to each other, and just had, rather than doing like Easter Monday off, have that whole week off leading up to Good Friday. So long spring break. And for a number of reasons, that proposal that got talked about, but that's not in the proposal that's here. Now, if the board would say, hey, we want that, you know, it could be put back in, so we're not taking action tonight. But some of the reasons that the committee kind of steered away from that was the thought that, well, people are still gonna want Easter Monday off. So then if you have a whole week off and then Easter Monday, you're gone for 10 straight days. That's a big hiccup in the learning, in student learning. Another thing is, if we don't have school that Easter Monday, the way our negotiated agreement reads, our classified staff members, our hourly staff members would lose a paid holiday. Because if it's not a holiday on the school calendar, they wouldn't get it as a paid holiday. So those people would lose a paid holiday. And the other thing is taking a week off, an entire week off for the hourly people, that's gonna put a hiccup in the paycheck. And so, you know, we're still gonna have the same number of school days. So if you're a para, for instance, you're still gonna get the number of days, but having that gap in your paycheck can be a little bit problematic. So kind of steered away from that. And then some of the other main points, again, August of 2026, if you look at that, it's kind of just like that, the next year where that in-service is on the 17th, first day of in-service. And the details of that aren't worked out yet, whether it would be in both buildings or just all up in Lead at that time. But this calendar works really pretty nicely that we can get 3 school days in that first week. We've heard some feedback from the elementary that going a full week, the first week, is pretty hard for the little guys just coming back to school. This calendar also allows us to get our half a day of in-service / open house there in that first week of school instead of having to do it the previous week. Some other things that may or may not be popular, but we talked about it in the calendar committee, and something that is on here to try is Wellness Day has traditionally been end of October, early November, gaining a day in the first semester by moving Wellness Day to the spring. We have a little more flexibility there, and it's kind of a, you know, change is hard, but if you have iffy days in October, November, you're gonna have an iffy day in April. Just around here, you might have a foot of snow, or it might be just beautiful. You just don't know. So that was a change that happened. Trying to think what else are some highlights that we want to hit. Another thing that is on here that I just want to draw your attention to. And again, this isn't the final calendar necessarily. We talked about some things with parent-teacher conferences, and you look in October, the 21st and 22nd for parent-teacher conferences. It's a 2-day deal instead of a 1-day deal. But kind of the sweet part for staff is like on the 21st, it's 3:30 to 5:30. And then on the 22nd, we have that early release that we normally have, and we'd have parent-teacher conferences from 1 to 5:30. So it eliminates that long, it's the same number of hours, but it eliminates that late night, that extremely long day. So that was something we had talked about at the committee level as well. Yeah, so with that, it's, 23rd is a school day. It's. Yeah. Because nobody really wants to do parent-teacher conferences on a Friday night. I think they might not be well attended. Any questions from the board on those calendars? We can let those marinate for a couple months and approve in April. A lot of work went into that, and so thank you to everyone that served on the committee, the calendar committee, and
Really have to get their instructional days in, and I think no matter what, you're always gonna have somebody that doesn't like the schedule.
both of these calendars, give us 177 contract days for teachers.
Okay.
And that's one thing I'll mention. I've heard some talk lately about, can we get our snow days back? If we don't use we have 177 days, I guess I'll just kind of explain it to people. We have a 177-day calendar. And if we have a snow day, 1 or 2 or 3, the board has always been very gracious to the staff and said, you know what? You can't control if there's a snow day. We're not gonna make you make that up. But when we get to like 5, it kind of starts to get, that's kind of seems like a natural tipping point that, hey, maybe we need to make that up, get back in the classroom. So the idea of like 5 extra days that we can somehow give back and take off on the end of the school year, that doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. That's a unicorn. And so we have a 177-day contract. And like I said, the board has been really gracious on that in the past, so. Right?
So this will come back to us, I'm assuming next month if there's any changes.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily gonna put it on the agenda next month, but if you see something and say, hey, we need to discuss it, we can put it on the agenda, and it'll definitely be on the agenda in April. So that's also like, if people in the community see something that they wanna comment on, that's kind of why it sits out there for a couple months.
All right, thank you.
Got a question. This, so this, they moved it back, you said,
KDM.
Yeah.
right, in 2027.
Yeah.
But this year, you know, I know that people in Deadwood, I'm just thinking ahead, you know, because Deadwood Chamber did this, but like the people that are working in Deadwood, they're already dreading this because there's no break in between the rally and stuff. I mean, because after this year, what if Deadwood changes it back again? Will they do that or not for 27?
No, so they set those dates because they have to get their publications out there.
Right.
And they've kind of said, hey, once we set that, you know, I don't know what they're gonna do in 2028. Because the Sturgis rally is gonna be bumped ahead for a couple of years. I think till like 2030 is, I don't know.
And their main goals were that they wanted the kids to be safe, because they didn't want kids going to school and cars going down the road, because people driving muscle cars don't really watch for kids crossing the street, and buses and everything else, and teachers trying to park and everything else. They didn't want that chaos. So that was one of the main concerns is.
And for the record, we didn't ask them, in fact, I was very clear, I said, I'm not gonna tell you when to hold your event. And they said, okay, and then as they had discussed, they decided, they made that decision to do that, and I said, okay, that is helpful for us. And I can tell you that as long as your Cool Deadwood Nights is there, I said, I don't think my board has any appetite for moving the start of school up a week into the previous week. And we kind of talked about it. There's an earlier version of the calendar. We explored it. And I said, as long as I'm around, I don't know, I might get hit by a bus tomorrow. I don't know, but as long as I'm around, we're gonna kind of stick to this, kind of a gentleman's agreement is where we're at.
Well, I think ultimately what's important to know is the chamber requested that we make a 2-year schedule, so they can in turn make a 2-year schedule. That's kind of how this came about. So I think the chamber is looking at doing 2-year schedules moving forward, so then they.
Actually, we offered it, but they really liked it.
They know when our start date is, so they can look at their stuff, because we know that we cannot have Cool Deadwood Nights at that. It was not enough.
And they want to communicate with us and work together with us, so, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Not ideal, we have to deal with that.
And as far as the back-to-back thing, I mean, yeah, that's not in our control. But it's also, you know, like if you're a farmer and it's harvest time, you can't say, I'm gonna park the combine for a week and then come back to it. I mean, everybody's got their busy times, so.
I will say that I very much appreciate how much the city, the chamber, and, the city and the chamber specifically have been willing to work with us. And the comment was actually made to me, by a Deadwood commissioner, that they very much appreciate the amount of communication that's been occurring, and that they feel like this has been, really good having these open conversations.
Okay, so this will be on the agenda in April for approval, whether there might be some changes, you know, between now and then, but that's kind of where it's at. So next item on the agenda is a correspondence that we received from Barb Memberton. I believe it was in our packets. Just a thank you from her. Then we're to administrator reports.
Well, first up, and, I don't know, I feel like this whole meeting has been my report, so I'll be fairly brief, just have a couple of things I would talk about. And, we've been talking about, exploring the possibilities of doing an alternative school. And again, these are things we're talking about. Can we do this within the structure of our existing staff, facilities, all of that kind of thing, and serve a number of students who, frankly, are kind of disenchanted with public education and maybe with our schools specifically. And it's a problem statewide, nationwide. But anyway, we've been at the administrative level really looking at that, how we can better serve those students, reach out to students that have gone to homeschooling, or as we call it sometimes, no schooling, in some cases. And part of that is we're doing some visits to some existing alternative schools. Last week, a group of us went over to Sturgis, and they were very gracious and hosted us at Sturgis Brown High School in their alternative program. And it was, we saw some things that like we would maybe do differently, but then we also saw some things that like, hey, that's really cool. We maybe didn't think of that. And so that was informative. Our next big trip, we've got two kind of big ones that we're in the planning stages of, trying to nail down dates. One is we're going to do a kind of a long cannonball trip to Mitchell, over and back in a day, and visit Second Chance High in Mitchell. They've got a highly successful alternative program there. And so we're going to go take a look at that. And ultimately, and then another one we're going to look at is just right here in our own school district, and that's the Box Elder Job Corps. I think they're having some real successes, and we've seen those kids come into this room and talk about the successes they're having through kind of a trades route, pursuing their high school diploma. And so I think there are some things we can learn just right here. And then ultimately looking at, can we construct a model that will serve a portion of our student population and possibly even draw in students from the bigger area if we're better able to meet their needs, and what policies might go with that and all that. So we've got those visits kind of coming along. And then in amongst all of this stuff that we've been talking about, with, like whether to fill certain positions and, make some cuts, and the board and I guess our administrative staff have all taken the approach that, yeah, we need to kind of trim some things, but the way to do that is through attrition. We don't want to be in a position where if you ignore a problem long enough, then you got to make a huge adjustment, and you have to do reduction in force, RIFs, let people go, that kind of thing. But if you find opportunities when somebody's already leaving, you can do that through attrition, and it's a little less painful. But I've been researching some enrollment numbers, and it's just kind of interesting. Right now, and the student to staff ratio, it's a little bit complex. And I've talked about this before, that when I give this number, that doesn't mean that's how many kids we have in a classroom, because there are a number of teachers, just like our counselors, for instance, they go into that student to staff ratio. Well, they don't have a class of 20 kids. They work with all kids, and it kind of sort of in like your music teachers, your PE teachers, all of that figures into the mix. But right now we're sitting at an 8.4 to 1 student to staff ratio, and our enrollment is sitting at 588. Well, if we go back 10 years, we were at like 10.8 student to staff ratio. That doesn't sound like a lot, 2 kids, but it's pretty significant when you're looking at a number that small. And like at that point, we were at 10.8. We were 784, so almost 100 or almost 200 more kids in the district. Now, here's kind of the interesting thing. Certified instructional staff, we're sitting at 67 right now. Well, at that time, back then, we had 75.2. The year following that, we're at 70. And so our staffing doesn't look a lot different than it did when we had maybe a couple hundred more kids in here. So that's a reason for giving these numbers is just to kind of show that it's not a thing we're making up. It's something very real that we need to deal with. And we're finding opportunities to kind of gain some ground on some of that efficiency as people retire and some different things happen. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. I thought it was a little bit interesting. That's all I have. On my report, so.
You, next would be Zach.
All right, well, this is kind of a busy time of year for activities now transitioning from the winter to spring. So probably the latest here for us was the one act play. They were one spot away from qualifying for state, so they got third at regions, really close with Custer. That musical is coming up fast, kind of right around the corner here. And it's been the first time in I don't know how long, but it sounds like it's been a while since our school's had a musical. So kind of a neat opportunity for our kids. Right after that, we're looking at the band and choir spring concerts. Will be here before we know it. End of April, start of May. We have archery club going on right now. Tuesday and Thursday mornings they practice. And last weekend they were in Killdeer, so almost every weekend they have a competition. Getting into kind of more athletics that we have going on here. Girls basketball has two more opportunities, to beat last year's win total. So last year they won their first game in 48 games. And they ended up winning 3 last year. We're sitting at that right now. So still kind of improving in that program. Boys basketball is in the region 4 seed right now. And we have 2 more opportunities there to get the 3 seed. The game with Hill City last Friday was a pretty big game for that team, for our boys basketball team. And we're kind of right behind them. Right now, we're sitting in a position to host a first round region boys basketball game. I don't know how long it's been. Again, Bound doesn't have that. So it's before Bound. We used Bound that we hosted a first round region game. And that's a pretty big deal for those kids. That program's come a long way in the last 3 or 4 years since Dan's taken over. For wrestling, this week we had 4 girls in the rankings. So, pretty big improvement for our team. And we're looking forward to the end of the season. We're pretty young on the boys side, but have some weight classes at regions that we might be able to push some kids through. So, should have a healthy amount of state qualifiers and have some girls, especially in positions to place at the state meet. Kind of moving forward for track and girls golf, they're both gearing up here. So cross your fingers and hope for good weather because we really need that for those 2 programs and opportunities to practice as well as compete.
Anything else, Zach? Thank you. Bill.
Okay, so I got a couple things. For transportation, we had a spot check over Christmas on our school buses from the highway patrol. They came in and they checked 5 buses and they didn't find anything wrong with any of our buses. So that went really well. Usually in the past, they'd come in and they would check 2 to 3 buses. But this is the first time they've been back since COVID, so.
And the guy did mention when he was up at the bus barn, I was up there, he said, well, your buses are pretty nice. Like, we only need to inspect 2 or 3, but if we inspect 5 of yours, that'll bring our quota up. We kind of want to inspect some good buses. So honestly, they
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah.
So then, in maintenance over Christmas break, we had, Bartlett and West Engineering come in and they did some testing on our water for lead. They tested several different places through all the buildings. And, they found that we are below the EPA standard for replacing fixtures and plumbing, which is 10 parts per billion. So we come back pretty good on that. And then the last thing that I have is kind of to give you guys a rough idea, on the 31st, Randy and I came in and moved snow with the loader and dump truck that we bought. And I kind of figured that out with the 6 hours between us and the fuel that we use was under $500. And normally on a snow removal like that, that'd been between $1,500 and $2,300. So.
Thank you, Bill.
And the dump truck was only $5,000.
We paid for the dump truck already.
All right, so we are to the public forum items. We did have 3 people submit, it looks like some letters that wanted to speak during the public forum, so I'll just go through them, and if you don't want to, that's fine. If you want to, that's fine too. So Lee,
All right.
okay, thank you. Preston? Okay, Greg?
I'm good.
All right, thank you, guys. I think that next regular board meeting is Tuesday, March 10th in this room again. We'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Second. All right, we're good to go.